Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the SoCal Sports Dudes podcast. Jason Wen here. Thank you for tuning in. Today I wanted to talk about the NFL. There's a lot of off-season moves going on right now with free agency, some trades being made, players being cut, franchised, and things like that. Of course, the draft is still a little over a month away here, but fun stuff, man. We're starting to see now the negotiating begin, and what is it? The tampering period is now kind of expired, where teams can now negotiate and you could announce who you're going to sign. Nothing becomes official just yet, but at least they can all kind of, the dominoes are starting to set up here. So with that, I'm going to walk through each conference division by division, go through the teams and kind of just talk about who they've ended up signing and re-signing and stuff, and a couple other notes as we go along. So let's start off in the AFC East. Buffalo Bills, of course, a team that been at the top of that division here for the last couple of years. Signed Connor McGovern, 3-year, $23 million deal. Re-signed Matt Milano, so as a key contributor on their defense course. And then it looks like they're set to re-sign their safety Jordan Poyer. Of course, Buffalo's got to be mindful of their finances. They're not one of the most, they have the deepest pockets in the league and stuff, so they have to be smart about who they sign, re-sign, how they restructure deals, things like that. But the rest of the AFC East is kind of starting to sneak up on them a little bit, so they have to watch out there. And with that, Miami has re-signed both the running backs, Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson, 2-year deals. They signed Jets quarterback Mike White, 2-year deal, so that's a pretty solid get there. I thought a guy who played pretty good for the Jets last year. Gives them some good insurance in case Tua's injured, as he frequently is. And they traded for Jalen Ramsey from the Rams, to give up a third rounder and tight end Hunter Long. So Miami kind of making a move there to kind of position themselves to really take that next step there in that division. And they, made some good strides last year under Mike McDaniel. So I think this looks like a way to continue to improve that team there. New England wasn't too busy. They re-signed offensive guard and linebacker, signed an offensive tackle, and kept Jonathan Jones there, 2-year, $20 million deal. Of course, he's their big cornerback free agent. The Jets, of course, there's, the whole thing about what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. They did announce they're going to sign Allen Lazard, 4-year, $44. So that's a Packer receiver that I'm sure is on, Rodgers' short list of guys he'd prefer to have on board if he should join the Jets. Re-signed linebacker Quincy Williams, 3-year, $18 million. The Lazard thing, though, I mean, if there's supposedly Rodgers going on the Pat McAfee show later today, and who knows what he says there, or if there's any sort of more of a clearer picture that's going to be painted from what he's going to do, what his plans are. But Lazard can still, kind of back away from committing to this deal with the Jets, just kind of early indications are he's going to sign this. But if Rodgers says, hey, man, I'm not going to the Jets, or keeps dragging his feet and the Jets bail on him, then maybe Lazard says, you know what, I'm going to go somewhere else too. And, I got to get my contract signed or my payday while I can. So I was kind of wondering, though, what they hear mentions about what the Jets' backup plan would be, because it seems like with all these other quarterbacks landing around the league and filling in these spots, Derek Carr, of course, being a guy that was mentioned with the Jets, but he, of course, has moved on and signed with another team. All these other quarterbacks are now coming off the market. Who would be left for the Jets to go get? I mean, do they trade for like a Tannehill? Maybe they go after like Matthew Stafford. The Rams have been mentioned if they're going to trade him. They're kind of blowing up the whole team there, trying to rebuild or remodel, as the GM says. But I don't know, man. I think that's going to be interesting to see what the Jets' backup plans could be if Rodgers doesn't go to the Jets. That's going to be crazy. I mean, you just turn around and go back with Zach Wilson. I think he's already shown, some fans are probably not too excited by that idea, but lots still to figure out there with the Jets. So AFC North, Baltimore's re-signed cornerback Trayvon Mullen, and they also placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on quarterback Lamar Jackson. So see if they can work out a deal. If not, is that a guy that maybe gets traded to the Jets or is moved somewhere else if he can't agree to a long-term deal with Baltimore? Other than that, I mean, probably can play for the 1-year franchise tag and then revisit this whole contract extension or long-term contract at a future date. Cincinnati's lost a few players, but they re-signed linebacker Jermaine Pratt. Cleveland's re-signed their center. They got defensive tackle Delvin Tomlinson and edge rusher Okoronkwo. So they got a couple of defensive pieces there. The Steelers got Patrick Peterson and offensive guard Nate Herbig. Not a big one there. Houston, AFC South, Houston's been pretty busy. They got Case Keenum, I think, is to either be the bridge quarterback or the backup quarterback there. 2-year deal. Wide receiver Noah Brown. They signed wide receiver Robert Woods. Edge rusher Chase Winovich. D lineman Hassan Ridgeway. Safeties MJ Stewart and Jimmy Ward. They acquired guard Shaq Mason from Tampa Bay and signed tight end Andrew Beck and re-signed their center Questenberry. So Houston keeping busy. Plus they have the number 2 pick in the draft coming up here, so they're gonna probably get. Looks like Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. One of those 2 guys is probably gonna end up being the guy they go with. Indy has signed edge Samson Ekubon. They also signed edge Tyquan Lewis. They re-signed linebacker E.J. Speed, and then signed kicker Matt Gay, 4-year, $22 million deal. Kind of good chunk of change there to give a guy that the Rams just kind of picked up, partway through the season last year or whatever, the year before. But it's like, wow. All right, anyway, Jacksonville's re-signed quarterback C.J. Beathard, given the non-exclusive tag to Evan Ingram, the tight end, who had a good year with them and seemed to have a good chemistry with Trevor Lawrence last year. Re-signed safety Andrew Wingard. D lineman Roy Robertson Harris gets a 3-year deal. So Jags, they had a lot of cap room too. So I wonder if they're not done yet, or if they are, they might be trying to slow play this a little bit and build also through the draft. We'll see what they do there. Tennessee's been had a couple moves. They moved on from a few players, of course, but filled in a few spots right back in with signing Andre Dillard from the Eagles, offensive tackle. They got guard Daniel Brunskill, D lineman Arden Key, former Niner there, linebacker Aziz Al-Shair, and long snapper Morgan Cox. Another guy that I just saw that they're going to be adding. So they're getting, Rand Carthen now, the GM there, is kind of making that a little bit of a San Fran South there with Tennessee. So a couple of things. I mean, they were mentioning about trying to trade Derrick Henry. Is that something that they move on from? I don't know there. And then, the quarterback thing, are they content with Tannehill and Malik Willis being the quarterback of the future? Do they look for something else in the draft here? I mean, would they have the 10th pick, 11th pick? So they're going to be, I'm sure, looking at a couple of different ways to improve the team. Going out west, the Broncos were busy, man. They of course, with Sean Payton now running the show there, they signed Jarrett Stidham away from the Raiders. I thought that was a little bit of a surprise that he went to in-division rival there. 2-year deal. Running back Samaje Perine from Cincinnati, who had a good year with the Bengals last year, was a good backup to Mixon. They got guard Ben Powers, tackle Mike McGlinchey from San Fran. So they're building that O-line there. D lineman Zach Allen and re-signed linebacker Alex Singleton. Kansas City, they had Orlando Brown as one of their key free agents, but they apparently not able to agree to some sort of deal. So they signed Jawan Taylor to a 4-year deal. Of course, he's an O-tackle from Jacksonville. Probably going to be filling that spot. I mean, for the dollar amount, $4 $80 million. I don't know if that leaves enough cap room or money available to also bring Orlando Brown back. I don't know. D-end Tershawn Wharton, and then edge Menuhu, sorry with the name there, edge rusher there. So KC adding a few pieces. The Raiders, they've been changing things up a little bit, of course, moving on from Derek Carr, and then trading away Darren Waller. So Raiders been kind of remaking things here. So the big one, of course, Jimmy Garoppolo, 3-year deal, going to be coming to Vegas there to be the quarterback. Re-signed Amir Abdullah, the non-exclusive franchise tag for Josh Jacobs, who, maybe with Waller being traded, they have some money now to work out a longer-term deal. Jacoby Myers comes over from New England, 3-year deal for him, a guy I'm sure that knows McDaniel's system and can be a good natural fit with Jimmy G. So, yeah, I mean, Carr, it just, after a while, just did not seem to kind of take to McDaniel's system. So now Jimmy G, guy who, wins games and knows the system. So I think that's encouraging for Raider fans to see that he chose Vegas over Houston, who was another team that was on, seemed like the negotiating or talking to him. Re-sign O-tackle Brandon Parker, and then sign safety Marcus Epps to a 2-year deal. Chargers re-sign quarterback Easton Stick, re-sign O-tackle Trey Pipkins, and they signed linebacker Eric Kendricks. So, yeah, lots of busy teams there. Houston, Denver making a lot of moves there. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And then still some more to go. Of course, these are the big ones. This is as of March 15th, so there's still a little ways to go. Moving to the NFC, there's a lot of teams here that were busy as well. Dallas Cowboys, of course, non-exclusive tag for Tony Pollard, running back, who they can't let go. Re-sign linebacker Leighton Vander Esch, 2-year deal. Re-sign safety Donovan Wilson to a 3-year deal. They acquired cornerback Stephon Gilmore from Indy for a 5th rounder, so that's a good potential addition there. It looks like they're set to cut Zeke Elliott. I mean, that's a guy who's year after year has kind of been on a little bit of a decline here. So Dallas did sign him to that big deal a few years back, but now they might be moving on from that. The Giants re-signed Daniel Jones, 4-year deal, non-exclusive tag for Saquon Barkley, of course. They re-signed running back Matt Breida, re-signed wide receiver Sterling Shepard, linebacker Jared Davis, and punter Jamie Gillum. And then linebacker Bobby Okereke, 4-year deal, 4-year 40. D lineman Raheem Nunez Roches, and then they acquired, of course, Darren Waller from the Raiders for a 3rd-round pick. So, guy who missed some time last year with the Raiders, but as you know, is one of the top tight ends in the league when he's healthy. So, I'm sure Daniel Jones is going to be excited to have him there. Haven't had a good tight end there in New York for a little while. So, yeah, that guy Bellinger was playing good last year. You had Ingram a couple years ago. It seemed like he really got going once he left town. Had a lot of the case of the dropsies there in New York. So, Darren Waller's a solid player, though, to get him for a 3rd rounder. If he stays healthy, that's a good pickup for them. So, yeah, my uncle in the family is a big Giants fan, so I'm sure, stoked on what Big Blue's doing there for him. So, Philly had signed Rashad Penny to a 1-year deal, re-signed Boston Scott, re-signed Jason Kelsey, re-signed Brandon Graham, and kept cornerback James Bradbury, 3-year deal. They cut cornerback Darius Slay with a little bit of a surprise, but I understand they save about 15, 17 million there in cap space by doing this. So probably a big money move there. But Slay helped them in that Super Bowl run last year. And I'm sure his services will be in demand throughout the league. Washington's been pretty busy here. They got O-tackle Andrew Wiley, 3-year deal. Offensive lineman Nick Gates, 3-year deal. Cornerback Brian Murphy. They franchise tag Darren Payne, and then they signed him to a 4-year, $90 million deal. So he's going nowhere. Claim cornerback Cameron Dantzler off of waivers from Minnesota. Signed cornerback Danny Johnson, linebacker Cody Barton, linebacker David Mayo. Over to NFC North, the Bears signed Travis Homer, fullback Blasingame, guard Nate Davis. So they got some O-line help there for Justin Fields. That's nice. Good move for them. Signed linebacker Tremaine Edmonds. That's a good deal got him from Buffalo. Free agent there. Signed linebacker TJ Edwards as well. So yeah, they kind of get Edmonds and kind of undo what they did by trading away Roquan Smith there. But of course, the big one, and then they signed edge DeMarcus Walker. Big one, though, of course, is they traded the number 1 pick, moved back down to number 9 with Carolina. In return, they get wide receiver DJ Moore, the number 9 pick, a 2nd-round pick, number 61 overall, next year's 1st-round pick, and a 2025 2nd-round pick. So the Bears, man, looks like a pretty good haul. It looks to me like there was a lot of talk if they're going to keep that trade or move on from it, and it looks like they got a pretty good haul there for trading it to Carolina, stay within the top 10 there in the draft, and end up with a weapon now for Justin Fields there, and the receiver with DJ Moore, and some future draft capital there. So hey, good move for the Bears, man. Like the Bears fans got to be, I think, got a tip of the cap there from acknowledging that they did look like a pretty good job in that. A lot of teams you see just don't look like they get good value in return, but Hey, Bears, I think that's not a bad return there, man. And I don't know. It's hard to say if they've won the trade yet because Carolina, of course, will now get the #1 pick, and let's see what they do with it and how it turns out in a few years from now. But anyway, it looks good. And Bears, it's nice to get a player of Moore's caliber and still have all these draft picks coming your way. So not a bad move. Detroit signed Bears running back David Montgomery, re-signed Craig Reynolds. D lineman Isaiah Buggs, Cameron Smith, corner from the Steelers for a 3-year deal, John Kaminsky and Alex Anzalone. Sorry, Green Bay is not too busy. They just re-signed their kick returner, Keshawn Nixon, 1-year deal. Minnesota's made a few moves here, re-signing Nick Mullins, kicker Greg Joseph, long snapper Andrew DePaula, tight end Josh Oliver gets a 3-year deal. Center Garrett Bradbury, 3-year deal. Edge Marcus Davenport, 1-year deal. And then they released Adam Thielen, so they have a spot there at wide receiver opposite Jordan Jefferson. So Minnesota, man, we'll see what they do. NFC South. The Falcons have quite a list here, so it'll take a while to get through this. They signed quarterback Taylor Heineke, 2-year deal. D lineman David Onyemata, 3-year, $35 million. Safety Jesse Bates from the Bengals, 4 years, $64 million on that one. Linebacker Kanon Ellis, 3-year deal. Punter Bradley Pinion, and then they re-signed edge Lorenzo Carter, tackle Caleb McGarry, guard Chris Lindstrom, and they acquired Jonnu Smith from the Patriots for a 7th-round pick. So, busy few days here for Atlanta. They also have, of course, a top 5 pick, I forget the exact number, but they're going to look like positioned to try to make a step up in this division. Of course, this division is not exactly the strongest in the league, but all these teams are pretty busy trying to retool and get ready for things. Carolina signed Andy Dalton to a 2-year deal. Of course, they also, as I mentioned with the Bears, acquired the #1 pick, so looks like they're going to be getting Stroud or Bryce Young. So Andy Dalton could be maybe that bridge quarterback or also the backup at some point. Safeties Von Bell from Cincy, good pickup there. D lineman Shai Tuttle. They re-signed center Bradley Bozeman, and tight end Hayden Hurst was also added to that roster. So Carolina look like they're making some steps in the right direction. And of course, they hired the new coach there with Frank Reich, who I'm sure is going to have some input on who they draft here with this #1 pick. New Orleans, of course, the big one, they signed Derek Carr, 4-year, $150. Worked out a new deal for Michael Thomas, wide receiver. Jawan Johnson had a good year for them, tight end. He's staying put. Defensive back JT Gray. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce his last name. Pasagon, re-signed him, and then re-signed Jameis Winston to a 1-year deal. So he'll be staying put, backing up Carr there. So busy offseason so far for New Orleans. And Tampa Bay, not too much of a list here. Re-signed cornerback Jamel Dean. But then they did earlier announce they're signing Baker Mayfield, 1-year deal, $8.5 million. So he's going to join, what is that? I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. The quarterback from Florida is now the quarterback there in Tampa Bay. Anyway, Baker Mayfield, now a Buck, came and did a good job with Rams there for half a season or a few games last year. And onward he goes to Tampa Bay. So all those teams are adding a quarterback, and then Carolina sets a draft one, I'm sure. Atlanta, maybe do they add another guy? Are they really convinced Desmond Ritter's the guy? We'll have to wait and see. Going out to the NFC West, Arizona's re-signed Corey Clement, tackle Kelvin Beachum, guard Will Hernandez, Kazir White, linebacker, and Matt Prater, their kicker. The Rams, of course, acquired Hunter Long and a 3rd-round pick, trading away Jalen Ramsey. Are they going to be moving on from other pieces? Allen Robinson, Matthew Stafford, you heard Leonard Floyd's name. All these guys, are they going to be traded, and what will they get back? Interesting, a couple years ago it was F them picks. Now look at what they're doing. They're trading away all these high-priced veterans that they got that, they have no depth on the team and no bright prospects in the future. So now, hey, what do? Let's trade all our high-priced, veterans and talent away to get draft picks, which we were just, given no credit or acknowledging that they had any value. Now, I think this is, kind of maybe what they need to do anyway. They're need to hit the reset button a little bit, because that roster I thought was kind of had some flaws there, the way they constructed that thing. So now they have to kind of, okay, let's hit reset and start over again, and maybe get back some draft capital. But there's no way they're getting back what they've given out. I mean, the Rams, I read somewhere that the Rams haven't had a first-round draft pick in like 7 years of their own. I mean, Todd Gurley was like their last own first-round pick, because Jared Goff is a guy that they traded up in the draft to get, so that was really someone else's pick. But then they traded away first-round picks for Jalen Ramsey, traded away a first-round pick for Brandon Cooks, traded away first-round picks for Matthew Stafford, just giving them away like, the government's giving out free cheese or something, man. Give out draft picks, wasn't a first, but for Von Miller to rent him for half a year. So, I mean, This roster would look a lot different right now if you weren't just so too hasty in making all these trades. I mean, you did win the championship, but now, are you going to be able to kind of reset or get back on track here with building a roster up for years to come? Because I don't know. I'm just questioning it. Let's see what happens. Snead has done a good job before, and they're pretty good about finding team talent in the middle and later rounds. But I still think you can't. There's a lot of value in those early picks, first and second rounders, because those are the guys that you can draft, develop, and they're cheap talent, at least their first few years in the league. So, I mean, it's like, I think invaluable to have a number of those on your roster, not just all high-priced talent that you acquire from somewhere else and then later round picks. But we'll see. Let's see what they do. Their rivals, the Niners, were pretty busy. Quarterback Sam Darnold, not a bad pickup there, 1-year deal. D-tackle Javon Hargrave, that's a big one, 4-year $84. So are they going to be moving on from like Armstead or Kinlaw now? We'll have to see on that. Resign center Jake Brandel, D-lineman Kevin Givens, safety Tayshaun Gibson, and linebacker Tabor Pepper. And then Seattle re-signed Geno Smith. He had a good year for them, got him a 3-year deal, good for him. Then you wonder, though, Seattle, are they still going to draft a quarterback? I still think that they might look at that, depending who's available. D-lineman Draymond Jones and D-lineman Jaron Reed also there with Seattle. So, yeah, man, I think it's kind of fun seeing all these player movement, who's going where. It's enough to make your head spin, of course, but a lot of teams making moves with using their cap space, you would like to think wisely to try to improve their roster. Other teams, we always see it, a team that goes from worst to first. And maybe a few of these teams out there that made the right moves, and with next month's draft, make some more intelligent picks and additions to their team, can really propel themselves up toward the top of their division, or at least show enough growth to give, make fans excited about what the future might bring. So, we'll keep an eye on how the draft goes and any other big moves. Of course, the Aaron Rodgers one's still yet to come. A few other free agents out there. You still got OBJ. Now Darius Slay will be a free agent. Zeke will be out there. But there'll be a few other guys that will need to find new homes and stuff. So we'll keep an eye on that. And if, big and noteworthy, I'll be sure to come back with you guys with another video. But I wanted to run through NFL video, go team by team as we did, and show you, kind of talk about who went where and where everybody's ending up. So, let me know what you guys think, man. How did your team do? Are you happy with some of the players that they signed? Would you have done something else? I mean, feel free to provide some comments in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you would be so kind, so we can help grow this channel. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you in the next video. All right. Thank you. Bye.